Get that fucking trash out of your life. You have legacies to build. We grew that business from 3.4 million to 17.1. Horsepower, not horse shit. You want to be the parent that's an ally. They don't need another fucking friend. Not everybody's cup of whiskey. Toughest advice for the toughest businessmen. Be relentless. On June 1st, 2017, 6 glorious years ago, I sold my baby, McLean Insurance, my #1 ranked personal lines insurance agency in the country. It was my child, my baby, my infant that I had raised, that I had built up over 17 glorious years, working shoulder to shoulder, toe to toe with my dad. We built that company from 3 employees to 23. We went from 11 phone calls a day to 340 calls per day. We went from 500 flyers a month to 140,000 flyers a month. Television, radio, email millions, interviews on television, press releases on the news, tons of charitable work with the hospital, with the animal shelter, children's literacy, youth sports, the food bank, you name it, we were supporting it, creating jobs, paying taxes. We had quite a run for 17 years. And then I got married to my best friend, Krista, my ride or die queen. And we were blessed with a little girl, Emery Eva McLean, named after my 90-year-old, almost 90-year-old mom, Eva McLean. And I decided, I started to get out of bed in the morning for the last couple of years, and I said to myself, I don't want to do this every day anymore. And that happens, right? It'll happen to you. Maybe it's happened before, but that's my barometer. If I wake up in the morning and I put my feet on the floor and I splash some water on my face and I say my prayers, and then I go to myself, ugh, I'm not inspired or motivated at all to do this anymore. Or in my case, there wasn't anything left to prove. There wasn't anybody left to serve or to help. Then it was time to do something different. And admittedly, it took me a year to make the final decision. I should have sold it 7 years ago. In 2016, I would have made even more money. But as human nature has it, we drag our feet, we're not certain, we think about things, the good wolf comes, the bad wolf comes. And I dragged my feet for a year when I should have sold it. So for 2 years, I didn't love it anymore. I had it easy. I mean, I didn't work in the agency. I hadn't written an insurance policy in 10 years. I did all the marketing. I was the chief marketing officer. I was the guy that did 2 things. I made the phone ring and I signed the paychecks. That's it. I was in the 2 things business. Sign the paychecks, make the phones ring. And I made the phones ring. But after a while with my family and my new daughter, I just wanted to spend more time at home. I wanted to have less commitments. I wanted to be able to spend more of my afternoons at home. I wanted even more freedom. And I just wanted to do 2 things. I wanted to be a father and a husband, and I wanted to coach hockey. I wanted to coach my Perth Blue Wings franchise. I wanted to coach them to their first Barclay Cup championship. It had been 20 some years since the team had ever won a title. It was next to impossible to beat the big, large city teams, and a little community like Perth we had never won in 24 years. So this was a mission that I had been on along with insurance, but I wanted to go all in on winning a Barclay Cup championship. I wanted to burn the boats, as my friend Russ Lowry says, and take the island. And I wanted to burn the boats and take the island as a husband and father. And my family had seen me work incredible hours. At night you're running practices, you're traveling through hockey. Every morning I'm up early working on my marketing. I was putting in a lot of hours with those two things, insurance and hockey. And I just decided that my 17 years of hard work and building it the right way, that my big payday was now. It was now time for me to walk away into the sunset on my own terms. And I did drag my feet for a year, and I paid a price. I lost 300 grand because I didn't sell it the year before. But we live with our mistakes and we learn from our mistakes. There's winning and there's learning. And that was an expensive lesson. There's winning and there's learning. So I decided it was my time to walk away into the sunset and be a father, be a husband, and coach hockey to keep me busy and finish my job with the hockey team, win a Barclay Cup for our community. So it's amazing, as it came close to the sale, which was on June 1st, my dad, who, he's a pretty close to the vest kind of guy, not a big speech guy, not a big, not a guy who talks a lot. But when he talks, you listen, because he's got 89, almost 90 years of life and business wisdom. So just about a month before the deal was about to close, I had agreed with a company. I had 4 major offers. They were going to take a 10-year lease on the building. My dad was going to continue working for them for a 6-figure salary. All the employees were going to stay, except for my COO, Sandra Challenger. Everything was set, 10-year lease. They hit the number that I wanted. I agreed to buy my email list for an additional 500 grand. And it was a record multiple that had never been seen before in the Canadian insurance industry. No insurance company had ever paid a higher multiple to acquire a business than this company was paying. So it was the perfect deal and the situation for me to walk away into the sunset. What's interesting is my dad pulls me aside, and he knows the agreement that I signed. He knows on June 1st, I'm going to have, millions of dollars deposited into my account. I'm going to be able to walk away from the business in that day, basically. I had to stay for 90 days, and I didn't have to do anything. So that was really a short runway for a parachute. And my dad, we were out at lunch one day. We'd have lunch every Monday across at the pub, and we'd have a sandwich and a beer, and we'd literally talk for 2, 3, sometimes 4 hours every Monday about life, about family, about politics, about business, his life, his history, his parents, just all of it, being entrepreneurs. And he said to me, he looked me in the eye one day just before the sale was about to close, and he said, "Can I give you one piece of advice?" And I said, "Sure, you can give me as much advice as you would like." He said, "I've bought and sold 14 different businesses, son. My dad has been a serial entrepreneur since he was age 12. When he retired at age 85, 4 years ago, he stopped at 70. He was in his 71st year as an entrepreneur. 71st year of working. 71 years working and signing his own paycheck. And he said to me, listen, he said, I've done this 14 times at a smaller grade than you. He said, you're going to be coming into a lot of money, more money than you probably ever dreamed possible. He says, it's like you're a professional athlete who signed a contract. He said, can I give you a piece of advice? He said, promise me that you'll not change one thing in your life in the next 48 or 24 months. I said, okay. He said, promise me that you won't make any major decisions. You won't do anything crazy or renegade, or you won't buy anything, or you won't make any major changes in your life for 2 years. And I said, there's a few things we'd like to do. We'd like to travel. He said, that's fine. He said, but tell me for the next 2 years, promise me you're not going to make any changes in your life. You're not going to build some mansion on the water. You're not going to buy 2 other vehicles that you don't need. You're not going to hang out with different people. You're not going to start sleeping till 9 a.m. You're not going to invest in things you don't understand. Those kind of things. And I gave it some deep thought over the next few days, and the guy had it right. He had it right on the mark. And you see this with pro athletes and entertainers especially, who all of a sudden will run into some money. You see it with lottery winners too, unearned money. And of course, unearned money disappears. Most lottery winners are completely broke within 2 years of winning millions and millions of dollars, because money doesn't care. It goes where it's loved, where it's respected, where it's appreciated. So if you don't love, respect, and appreciate money, it's not long until money leaves you. There's nothing you can do to keep it. Money has no conscience. Money goes where it's loved, appreciated, and respected. That's why money is flowing into places like Florida, flowing into places like Oklahoma, flowing into places like Tennessee, and why it's running out of places like California, running out of places like New York, running out of places like Canada. It's not loved, it's not respected, and it's not appreciated. So no matter what a politician does, no matter what a president does, no matter what a bureaucrat does, money has no conscience. It will move on its own. It will leave and it will arrive where it's loved, appreciated, and respected. So he said, respect your abundance. So it's amazing. We actually shrank our life a little bit over those next 2 years. All I focused on was my wife, my daughter, and my hockey team. And that's it. I'll never forget, we went out for dinner at the Keg a couple of nights, maybe it was the night, June 1st, that I sold the business. And that was the only celebration we had. We went out to the Keg with a couple of friends, and that was that. And it was Michael's retirement, which I laughed at, because if you know me, those are called mini retirements. They don't last, and they shouldn't. To retire is to expire. To retire is to expire, my dad says. So soon as that 24 hours was over, the Nick Saban rule, 24 hours, and then you're on to the next thing. If you win a football game, celebrate 24 hours, then forget about it. Done, next. So I use literally that 24-hour rule, plus my dad's 2 years advice, and it just worked like a charm. We ended up downsizing our life. We sold our large home in town. We moved to the lake here full time. We didn't buy any properties in Florida. We didn't buy any new vehicles. We didn't change hardly anything. And it was the most important and valuable lesson that my dad ever gave me about money. He just said, cool your jets. Be cool for the next 2 years. And it was so funny because it put water on a fire, right? For me, I was all excited. I never thought I would ever make that kind of money. I never thought that I would have somebody interested in my business and be willing to, pay those kinds of dollars and all this different stuff. And so I was emotionally drunk, right? I was suffering from what I call emotional drunkenness. I was like, wow, look at me. Like, This is amazing. I've got the deal of a lifetime. I can't wait for the check to clear. And my dad reeled me back in with that one piece of advice. Don't change a thing for 2 years. Don't change your lifestyle. Don't change your friends. Invest your money and forget about it, is what he said. He knew what I was investing. He knew I was putting my money in solid things, and the railroads and the oil companies and Amazon and all these other things. And he said, invest your money and forget about it. That was another piece of that advice, which was crucial. Invest your money and forget about it. Don't be checking in. Don't be checking in your accounts. Don't be like, don't let that scarcity mindset start to get in. Read your books, read your newsletters, go on your walks, spend copious amounts of time with your wife, spend all the time you can with your child. And he said, and coach that hockey team. You love that team. Coach that team to a championship. Do it for you, do it for the kids, do it for the community. And that's the blueprint I followed. I followed that blueprint for 2 years. In the third year, we won the Barclay Cup. We downsized our life, actually. And I didn't spend any money at all on anything frivolous. I didn't invest in anything I didn't understand. And it's interesting because you'll have people approach you, right? Because they know, like the shovel sellers know, the pretend experts know. Well, you should put money in this, or you should start a restaurant, or some of this other horse shit, or you should buy another hockey team, or what about buying a football team? I had a company approach me about buying the single A baseball team in Ottawa. Think about that. Single A baseball. That was like big for my ego, right? I'm like, yeah, I got this great hockey team. Michael, you can do the same thing with this single A team. They need you. They're bankrupt. And I was sitting there and I was like, man, you're right. I can be a hero of this story. And then it stopped me. My dad's advice is like, stop. You don't know fuck all about baseball. And even if you did, you have no business sticking your nose into that. You have a championship to win in hockey first. You have a marriage to improve first. You have a relationship with your child to work on first. And that advice helped me from making really, really poor financial and life decisions. Do nothing for 2 years. Put your money away, invest it wisely, and live your life. Spend time with the people that matter most to you. Put your heart and soul and focus into winning that championship with that hockey team, however long it takes. Enjoy your mini retirement. And then when you've accomplished those goals and your daughter's a little bit older and you've spent a lot of time with Krista and you've won your championship, then and only then, say to yourself, what's next? What's next? And man, that was the most valuable financial advice my dad ever gave me. Play it cool for 24 months. Play it cool for 2 years. And I played it cool for 4 years. I hung out with my wife for 4 years at the lake here, fishing, boating, reading, writing. I wrote a book, journaling, playing some golf, playing some tennis, driving my daughter to school every day, reading, writing, lemonade stands, jet skiing, tubing, hanging out, just spending precious, precious time together. And then, of course, in 2019, we won the Barclay Cup. And then after that, the China virus shut down a lot of things, including hockey. I looked in the mirror like I did one day at insurance, and I said, my work here is done. I have nothing left to prove. I don't have the motivation to do this again. And it's now time for me to hand this off to somebody who can take it to the next level. And that's it. I don't fall in love with companies. I don't fall in love with teams. I put my heart and soul into something, and then when it's time to go, I'm self-aware enough to know it's time to go. I'll do the same thing with this mission company we're on here, Badass Millionaire. I'll walk and shoot videos and organize masterminds and write books and write newsletters and teach guys how to get rich slowly by email. I'll do it for 10 years. And then there'll come a day when I'll wake up and I won't want to do it anymore. And that's the day I'll say to Marc-Andre, well, you know what? It's time for yours relentless to do something else. And of course, I'll give him lots of notice, but there's an expiry date for everything. Winning a hockey championship, being a father, it's endless. You get that precious early time in your child's life. Man, I look back at that and I'm so grateful that I had the self-awareness to put all of that precious time at home when my daughter was very young. So thank you, Dad. You have no idea how that simple advice at lunch changed the entire trajectory of my life. Play it cool. Play it cool for 2 years. See where you're at. You know, live humbly, be humble, spend time with those that matter most, live a simple life, let everything cool down, and then after that, you can decide what's your next challenge, your next championship that you're going to be chasing. That's it. If I don't have your fax number, I can't send you my weekly free money-making and marketing fax. I send it every Friday, most Fridays. It's my off-the-grid stuff. It's my best stuff because it's stuff that's uncensored that I can't send by email. I can't talk about in a video. I can't share in an email or online. So some of my very best stuff is through my faxes. So if you have a fax number, reply to this email and send it, and I'll add you to my list. It's my confidential off-the-grid fax list. Yes, fax. Champions fax. You should own a fax machine. I own 2 of them. I have one in my home in Florida. I have one in my world headquarters office here. If you don't have a fax machine, no worries. Buy the software below, MFax. It's pennies a day. And you can receive my faxes by email then. MFax software. You'll receive my weekly emails or faxes for free, and they'll come in your email box. So do one of those 2 things and send your number to Leanne. And send it today. Today, I'm going to be sending out a fax this Friday and next Friday. My off-the-grid blunt talk that I send only off-the-grid by fax. It doesn't cost you a penny. Do that today. Get your fax number, reply to this email to Leanne, and she'll add you to the fax list. That's it. Do what we do. When you get home tonight, make sure you hug your wife and your children. Make sure that you tell them that you love them and you respect them. It'll make you feel better. It'll make them feel better. If your children are teenagers or young adults or they're away from home, make sure they hear your voice every day. Every day. Not a text, not an email, not a message. Make sure your son or daughter hear your voice every day. If it's not in person, on the phone. And tell them that you love them, you respect them, and you believe in them, and that you're proud of them. They need to hear those words every day. And tell your wife the same thing. Leave her notes. Date her. Surprise her. Inspire her. Little things often. Post-it note in her lunch. Post-it note on her phone. Unexpected flowers. A compliment, a hug, a kiss, a compliment. Surprise her, date her. Make her feel great about herself. Thank her for being such an incredible partner. Thank her for being with you through your entrepreneurial journey. Thank her for being such an amazing mom and grandmom. Make her feel like a badass queen. You walk through that door at 6 o'clock at night, put that fucking phone away and leave it away. You've scrolled for the whole day. You've invested all that time. Your legacy is built after 6 p.m. If you can't get your work done by 6 p.m., you need to look at the man in the mirror. You need to look at the man in the glass. Win your mornings, conquer the chaos in the afternoon, and at home after 6 p.m., build the legacy, the only legacy that'll matter. Your wife, your children, your grandkids. That's the only legacy that'll matter. It's the only thing you'll be remembered for. Nobody will remember what you sold, how much money you made. They won't remember any of it. They'll remember what type of husband you were, what type of father you were, what type of man you were, what type of entrepreneur, and who you helped. Who did you help? Who did you inspire? Who did you motivate? That's the kind of stuff that's built after 6 p.m. at the dinner table. Put the phone away and leave it away. And give those people hugs, compliments, phone calls, little notes, flowers. Surprise them. The king doesn't rise, the kingdom dies. Far too many kingdoms that have died in the last 20 years. The king doesn't rise, the kingdom dies. Rise up. At 6 p.m., rise up. Be there. Physically and mentally, be there. They only want one thing. T-I-M-E. How do you spell love? T-I-M-E. That's how you spell love. How can you be a great husband? How can you be a great father? How can you be a great grandfather? 2 words. Be there. Be there. Period. So make sure tonight when you get home, you hug your wife, your kids, your family. You'll feel better, they'll feel better, and the world will be a much, much better place. Send me your fax number. 2 words that changed my life, 2 words that'll change your life. Be relentless.